to the bold analysis. Thank you very much for supporting our podcast. Where are you watching from? After Murang'a, Nairobi here, after Nairobi in Kenya, number one viewers is Nairobi, then Murang'a, then let me shock you. Actually, number 3 is which city? Number 3 is Machakos. Yes, so nikikuja nitawaambia number 4. And we are really growing. Yeah, number after Kenya here, number 1 is Nairobi, number 2 is Murang'a, number 3 is Machakos. So in the next video, I'm going to tell you number 4. There is a big mistake that has happened. And this is a mistake that is either deliberate or it's just a case of things happening in darkness being exposed in full daylight. Now, when we look at it, you will be able to maybe look. You will see how it is. On which side? How do you see it? Remember when Kibet bull was arrested, was abducted. Now it will now confirmed he was abducted. After abduction, he was released. So he mentioned how he was dropped in Rwanda, and the country, of course, fellows became trivial about that. But I want us to read something from George T. Diano. Is that one of the key Twitter bloggers. There is something that happened in saying, 1 week before Kibet bull was abducted, I had sent him some money as payment for a gig he had completed a week prior. The DCI or whoever abducted him intercepted the messages and decided to fabricate a narrative to justify his abduction. Upon discovering that I work for an NGO, they accused my boss of funding Kibet and other online activists. They threatened my boss, who is not even a Kenyan and not even active on X. X is Twitter. With the closure of the organization, they threatened the boss that they were going to close that organization. That apparently that organization, claiming that organization has been funding the online activists. Mind you, the organization has been in operation since 2004. This is how I was silenced over money that had nothing to do with Kibet's criticism of government. I don't blame my employer for my unlawful dismissal, which was termed as unpaid leave pending investigations. It was a decision that didn't require much such consideration. Now, he reached out, George Diano reached out to Kibet Bull to confirm this statement, just to confirm that money that was sent to him before his abduction was actually sent because of work that he had done. Now this is, and Yoko Kibet confirmed in a tweet. He said, George Diano just wanted me to justify that he gave me a gig, paid me. DCI have been following him, wakisema they have been funding me. I had I may lose his job. Otherwise, George Diano is a good friend. Tumetoka mbali. Let the enemy always be Kasongo. Yeah. This is the statement from George Diano. This statement from George Diano is about zeroing down. This is what exactly is happening. And I want to use my example. There was a time I used to work in UN, a project known as Maverick. Maverick was demand creation of family planning for the mature woman. It was actually based in Kilifi. Sasa, when I'm working there, I was working as a communication consultant. But I have some side hustle. I have some business somewhere. So I reach out to an influencer. I pay that influencer to help me push my brand. And I pay that influencer from my own money, from my own M-Pesa. Then, after paying, DCI intercepted that message. Then they went back to my bio and realized, oh, this guy works for organization X. So that organization has been profiled and is now being told that you can be knocked out of the country, that NGO can be closed for actually supporting the online activists. Outside the box, just outside the box, the big question in this podcast is this. The state agencies have said, we didn't abduct Kibet. We didn't abduct Peter Muteti. We don't know what about the Billy Mwangi. We don't know these things about Bernard Kavuli. If the state agencies have distanced themselves from that abduction, and so let's assume it was done by some civilian, state managed, let's assume state managed as they normally want the public to achieve. The state agencies are saying it's not me. They've maintained it's not me line. And if it is civilian, then how do the DCI come in to intercept messages and zero in on financier of Kibet? Why would DCI follow someone over under allegations of financing abductor? Someone who was abducted, if themselves they're saying they are not really on this issue of abduction? How does it come in? It's a question you can think around it, and I want you to think as vague answers as you can think outside that box. The second thought is about this. The cartoon guys, I said it's a continuation of what happened last year during Gen Z protest. And I normally maintain a line here that the young men in Twitter are the ones who are on streets, but they were pushed out of the streets through guns and bullets. So, was it possible that someone was just trying to get a ground to knock out, or rather to close some of the NGOs? Is this part of a thick plot to lock out some of the NGOs, because some of these civil society organizations registered as NGOs here are the ones that are fueling governance check by the members of the public? There have been protests all over here that have been funded by them. Is someone sitting somewhere thinking, I need to close organization XYZ because of their activism? You need to think around those lines. What do you see? Now, apart from those two arguments outside the box, three questions to me remain the puzzle here. If a crackdown is done on NGOs, and quite a number of them are closed. For example, this guy has lost a job. Does it matter to the ruling class that Kenyans will lose jobs while the state is grappling with unemployment? The bulk of the Kenyan problem is unemployment. The bigger part of the problem, the young people in the streets, the young people tweeting, the tweeting generals are unemployed fellows. They're just pushing numbers so that they can be Twitter celebrities, they can be influencers, then from that end, they can be able to get gigs. So if we threaten and humiliate foreigners that are running civil society organizations here, does it really matter to the ruling class that the private sector and the NGO sector is also supplementing government efforts to provide jobs? Maybe not so much consequential. Yeah, I'm overthinking. They normally don't think along that line quite often. because their interest is not well served there. George is sacked because of making a personal appointment to Kibet. Of course, I understand. It is also possible, yes. Let's flip it. It's also possible that George works for that NGO, and for one way or the other, the gig was done for the NGO, but NGO did not want to make the payment direct to Kibet, so they decided to use George, probably if he's a program assistant. That's normally the role of a program assistant, or someone in the finance sector or something, someone there, to make the payment. So, is it difficult for the state and the intelligence to gather evidence and know exactly, instead of having a collateral damage like George? If you believe that George si mbaya, lakini he works for an organization that is supporting online activists, isn't it wiser and better to look for how you can pin down, you can have evidence to pin down the organization, so that you can drag that organization to court to answer queries about it? You know? And what is this? What is the legality in that kind of arrangement? Lastly, the third question is this. Kenya depends on foreign aids to support our budget programs. Several projects that we launch across the country, several of them are actually donor funded, are even foreign aid and grants. Foreign aid and grants given to government, and some donors also support these NGOs. The image coming out that we are harassing and intimidating foreigners running civil society organizations, does it really matter to the ruling class that we are also denting the image of our country in the global stage? In June last year, the president had a flight to US and met Biden. There were some agreements, there were some takeaways on paper. Some of those takeaways, 6 months after that historic trip to White House, we're yet to see something down happening. The reason what has occasioned the delay is, unlike other donors, the US puts a lot of emphasis, has conditions that before you get, you must also uphold this and that. So if we chase the civil society groups, I remember during Gen Z protests, if you chase them, probably we would want to knock them out, because the more they are here, they are enriching a political discourse. They're the ones that are leading these litigations to court. You know, they're funding this and that, and so it's a problem. I will understand from the state perspective. Now, it should be disturbing, the strategy of when there is a problem, you always look for who is funding it, who is funding it, who is behind it. I always look at it as an escape, someone who is doesn't just want to face the problems. During Gen Z protest, we flip-flopped with a number of narratives. Oh, we started with, it is Uhuru Kenyatta. Then we said it is Raila Odinga. Then after that we said it is Rigathi Gachagua. We even impeached Rigathi Gachagua, thinking that he did that. Then to some point we also said it is Ford Foundation. So we maneuvered around who is funding it. But the political analysts used to say, you know, let's not look for the financer. Let's look for what the fellows are arguing about. Now, I want to bring that in this context. Instead of looking for who is paying who to tweet, the people paying, you cannot stop them. Because apart from probably organizations, there are individuals even within government, that will take cash to these people. So if it is the monetary fortunes, the understanding that the monetary fortunes is the driving force behind the online rage, in my observation, it is misplaced. The tweeting generals, the motivation is not squarely, okay, money is also important because they must pay their bills, but it's not, motivation is not absolutely money. And that is why I think the best way to disarm the online rage is not looking for who is financing, who is paying who. No. I think these other strategies can be better. And that is withdrawing the propaganda machinery in social media. In fact, let me use a different word. Ruto should refine and fine-tune those who speak on behalf of him. 2 steps. Number 1, there is some 5 people in Twitter whose objective is to twist and spin and amplify and say hot air where there is none. Even there is even no hot air. There is even no air. Saying a solid where there is vacuum. Not even liquid. That team is annoying. There are 2 teams. That is that online propaganda battalion. Number 2 is a number of MPs around the president that attend presidential events and make statements that just irritate the public. Those Kasudis, the names I mentioned in my previous video. Withdraw that machinery and remain with the professional. You know, these ministries, all these ministries have a communication consultant and a cameraman and all that. Let those people use the corporate language to communicate what the government has done. But the argument, the Murugu, Pius Kinodia, Bianca, I don't know who, Ushiri, Itumbi, let's kick out that team. They're not adding any value. They're the ones that is causing this, because we've taken legitimacy. The government is pushing for a lot of legitimacy in social media. And whenever there is something, you always rush to social media. I want to win it there. Don't struggle to win contexts, narratives in Twitter and Facebook and all that. What you should be interested in is what is happening on the ground. Number 2, allow the dissenting voices to thrive in different platforms so that people don't see that it's only social media. What am I saying? Parliament has opposition, has some minority. Let minority be heard in parliament. Let not mwananchi see that hata huko parliament sasa ODM ilishachukuliwa na government, sasa tuna mtu anatutetea. Look at the political forums. These incidences of Regatta is going somewhere, then I don't know, you send the police, a tear gas canister is thrown. On crossover party, it's somewhere in Muranga, a tear gas canister was also thrown in a church. Let us allow the dissenting voices to thrive in other platforms. Look at protest, end femicide protest. The campaign that was even bankrolled by the state. Women leaders went to State House. They were given 100 million by the president so that they ran the end the campaign against the gender-based violence. Then it culminated into some protest in town just to show how they were pushing it. And police were dispatched, you know, and it even took the attention of the US. The US reacted and said, why? Why did we do that? So let's allow the dissenting voices thrive. When you muzzle the voices in other platforms, everyone resorts to social media. Number 3, constitute the IEBC so that registration drive can start. These young people spending time in Twitter, let them take that energy in registering as voters. So let things happen. And that is where they are, instead of venting their frustration, I heard Moses Kura saying it, that instead of venting your frustration on social media, enda uchukue kura. It's true. And the last two are very important. They're not the least. Tone down the harsh rhetoric combating the masses. The Miguna once said, don't argue with the masses. Miguna said it. Don't argue with the masses. What do we say? In December, the president went, he had some breach. Oh, nyinyi ni pepo mbaya. Oh, nyinyi you guys are stupid. Oh, someone is doing kunyamba na mdomo. The kind of words that were being vomited. You know, the president went on microphone and said, you guys are stupid. The next day, mtu amekuchora kwa jeneza. You know what? We planted that culture. I once said politicians have fair share of that blame. So let's tone down on that harsh rhetoric. The harsh rhetoric is unnecessary, even if you feel that your critics are not fair to you. But you still have to, you chose leadership. You chose the limelight. It is what it is. Someone sent me a WhatsApp audio telling me that Biden, violation of human rights by security agencies should be addressed urgently. The youth of this country are angry with the president, and let me tell you, the photos of young people that were killed in town, those photos are still vivid and clear in the minds of young people. In 2025, let's tone down that. We started on a wrong foot with these abductions. We ended December 2024 in a wrong foot. In 2025, let's avoid that. Because hiyo kitu inaendelea, it's boiling, and people really react about it. Thank you.